Hi guys, welcome back. We're now going to jump in and start adding some controls for our character's body. Now we need to add in controller for sort of the main body piece down here, and then we need to add in a different system up here for the flexible top part of the can. So I'm going to start off by making sort of a basic body control object for here. And then what we'll do is take a look at the more complex system for setting up the flexible top. So I'm going to start off by creating a couple of control handles. I'll pop across to my curves tab here, and I'm going to create a NURB circle. And I'm just going to drop that on the grid like that. I'll just turn my grid on so you can see it. And for this one, I'm just going to center it in the middle of the grid. So I'm just going to set all the translate values for that circle to 0, and then I'm going to scale this up. So I want to scale this up so that it's quite a bit bigger than sort of the area taken up by the foot control object. So something like that should do. And I'm going to call this master control. Okay. And what I want to do is delete the history and freeze the transformations. So we'll go modify, freeze transformations, edit, delete by type history. Like that. So what this is going to do basically is give us a handle that we can select to position the entire character and its rig anywhere in the scene that we want. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is create a control for the body, and that's primarily going to control sort of the section around sort of the hips and the collarbone areas. So I'm going to create another curve again. Just click that on the grid, and I'm going to snap the position of this curve to the pelvis joint or the root joint. So I'll grab the move tool. I'm going to switch on snap to point, and I'm just going to drag that up to the root joint there. Now with this one, I need to scale it up again in a similar fashion to the master control, but this time I need to make sure that it's visible outside of the character's model. So I'm going to switch the character's model back on by reactivating my polygons, and then I'll turn off point snap, and I'll grab the scale tool, and I'm going to scale that up. So it needs to be sort of well visible outside of the character's model. Okay. Once again, I'm going to freeze the transformations on that. So we'll go modify, freeze transformations, and I'm going to delete the history, edit, delete by type history, and that's just going to clean up the inputs there. Okay, so this one is going to be called, I'm going to call this body control. Like that. Okay. Now, because of the design of this character, obviously this can is quite big in comparison to the feet. Generally speaking, what I would do is have the master control be bigger than any of the other controls. Okay, and at the moment this one's a bit smaller. So what I can do is grab the master. Now that I know which size this is going to be, I can grab the master control and just kind of drag that up. Okay, something like that. And then all I do is freeze the transformations again, just to make that modification. Okay. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a control system for the top section of the can. And what that's going to do is allow me to basically bend the can. So if the can's running along or it's jumping up and down, I can get the can to kind of wobble back and forth. Okay. So what we're going to be doing is using a Spline IK handle. It's a little bit similar to the IK handles we've already used, except in this case what it does is it runs a curve up through the middle of your joints, and if you change the position of the points in the curve, it moves the joints along with it. So what we're going to do is just hide the polygons again, just get those out of the way. And I need to find my first spine joint, and it should be this one here. So I've got the root joint, then the body joint, which you can see here, and then I've got spine in this case 1, and it goes all the way up to spine 6 in this case. So I just need to be aware of which one is the spine and which one is the body. I don't want to include the body in the IK controls for this. Okay, so let's jump back over to the rigging tab. I'm going to pop up here to the skeleton menu, and then I'm going to pop down to create IK spline handle just here, and I'm going to activate that. What we can do is turn off auto parent just here. Now there are different kind of methods of thought on this. Some people will keep the number of spans at 1, some people will do 2, and so on. For me, for this, I'm going to do 1 span. Okay. You can also turn off auto simplify curve. That can work sometimes as well. It really depends on the type of character and the amount of control you want in your spine. For this, I'm just going to try it out with the base settings that I've got here though. Okay, so I'm going to click on the first spine joint, which is here, and then I'm going to click on the last spine joint, which is there. Okay, and you'll see that it creates an IK handle, as we've seen before. Okay, but you'll notice that if I turn the move tool on, I don't get a move handle. Okay, there's no way of actually manipulating this. And that's because this is actually controlled by the curves, the curve that's been placed down in here. So just to show you what that's doing, if I go to my show menu and I switch off IK handles, and if I turn off the selection option for my joints just here at the top, okay, I can't select the joints anymore. I can only select the curve. All right. Now, what I'll need to do is turn the joint visibility off for a second, and that just gives me my curve. If I right click on that and select control vertex, okay, you'll see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 control vertices. Okay, these first two, or this one here, is actually created as part of this first one. This is what sets the angle for this vertex. Okay, and the same applies to this one and this one. If I move this, now that I've got it selected, if I switch my joints back on, if I move this point, you can see that the joints bend with it. So basically what's happening here is the point in the curve will move the joints, and the joints will move the vertices in the model. Okay. Now, because you could see there sort of how tricky it was to actually get those points selected to be able to move this, your animators are not going to want to have to do that every time they want to move part of the model. So what we need to do is connect up some control handles to these points so that when we move the handle, it moves the point, which moves the joint, which moves the model. Okay, so it's all kind of hierarchies. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to switch off my joints for a second. Okay, and what we're going to do is grab the upper 2 points just here, and I'm going to come across to the deform menu, the top of the screen, and I'm going to select cluster. Okay, and what that will do is create this little C shape just here. Okay, and that's called a cluster. All right, basically what this does is it kind of acts like a connection between the point on the curve and an object like a curve that we can parent this to, like a control handle. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing again with the 2 bottom points. So I'm going to select the curve, right click on it, select control vertex, and this time I'm going to select the 2 bottom points. Okay, so this cluster controls these 2, and the new cluster I'm about to make is going to control these 2. So we'll go deform cluster, like that. So you can see the 2 clusters here. Okay, so if I move this one, it's going to give me that kind of shape. And if I move this one, it's going to give me that kind of shape. So you can see that they move independently of one another. All right, so I'm going to rename this one. I'll rename the top one. So I'm going to call this spine top CLS for cluster. I might put a space in between there. And I'll just copy that. And then the one at the bottom, I'll just rename that BTM, so spine bottom cluster. And I'll just make sure that top is in capitals just to keep it consistent. There we go. So I've got spine top and I've got spine bottom, like that. I'm just going to turn this off here for a second. Okay, so now what I want to do is bring the visibility back of my joints. So just under the show menu, I'm going to go joints, like that. Now I've got a couple of other things to rename in here. The first one is the IK handle. If I switch the IK handles back on, this is the spine IK handle. So I'm going to rename that spine IK. And this one here is the curve for the spine. I'm going to rename that one spine CRV for curve, like that. Okay. So what we need are a couple of control handles. One's going to be positioned here at the joint, the first spine joint, and the other one's going to be positioned at the top on the last spine joint. So let's jump back over to the curves tab. Let's grab a circle curve and let's just drop it in the grid. And then let's grab the move tool and point snap, and let's snap this to our first spine joint just there. And we can duplicate that. So edit, duplicate, and let's snap the one that we've just duplicated up to the top. And we just need to make sure that that's in the middle of that that joint there, like that. Okay, let's turn off snap to points, and let's grab both of those circles, and let's scale them up. Now I know that the can is smaller than this control handle here, so I'm going to scale these two up so that they're just a little bit smaller than this. So we'll grab the scale tool, and we'll just scale them up, like that. Now if you're not sure, you can always just turn the visibility of your polygons back on. Okay, and the reason I want them a little bit smaller is just to show that this is the main body control, and this one is going to actually move these two at some point. So basically the more important the control, or the more that the control actually activates, the bigger the control is in this case. So that way your animator will kind of look at this and say, well, this is the biggest one, so that's probably going to control everything. This is the next biggest one, so it's probably going to control the body, and so on and so forth. Okay. So once we've done that, we want to freeze the transformations, so modify, freeze transformations, and we want to delete the history on those as well. So edit, delete by type history. And then what we'll do is rename them. So let's just make sure we've got them visible. So we've got the body control, that's already named. Okay. Then what I'm going to do here is call this one, let's see. Let's just call this spine lower LWR CTRL. Okay, I'll just copy that and hit enter to lock that in. And then the one at the top, I'm going to call this spine upper. So I'll just rename that and change lower to UPR for upper, like that. Okay, so the final handle that I'm going to add in for the chain that we've got going here is going to be basically a bend controller for this section of the can. Pretty much it's going to be based on the same spline curves, these circular ones. And what we're going to do is kind of connect it in sort of halfway through. So I'm going to select this lower spine controller. I'm going to duplicate it. We'll go edit, duplicate, and I'm going to grab the move tool and I'm just going to move this up. Now you could probably experiment a little bit with the positioning of this. It doesn't necessarily have to be directly on sort of a joint. Okay, it can be just sort of halfway up. or maybe a little bit lower than halfway. So just kind of position it somewhere in here. Okay, I'm going to rename this. I'm going to call this spine bend control. Okay, and you need to make sure that you freeze the transformation. So modify, freeze transformations, and you can get rid of the history just in case. So edit, delete by type, history, like that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make some connections for this. I'm going to start off by adjusting the pivot point on this lower spine handle. We probably won't need to move this handle too much. Predominantly what we'll be doing is using these two to manipulate the top of the can. But what I'm going to do is move the pivot point of this handle down to the same position as this, which is just here in the root joint. So I'll select my lower spine control just here, and I'll turn on snap to points, and then hold down the D key and snap that handle. Oops. I'll snap that handle down to the root joint here in the middle, like that. Okay, don't forget to turn off point snap when you've done that. And now what we're going to do is connect all of this stuff together. So I'm going to start off by selecting my top spine cluster just here. Now technically what we could do is actually taking a look at the naming conventions I've got. I've got top and bottom for the clusters, but I've then got lower and upper for the spine controls. What I might do is actually change those two around so they match these. So that way I know exactly where they're connected. So I'm going to call this one spine upper cluster, so UPR. And then this one here I'm going to call spine lower cluster. And that way I'm just keeping things a little bit more consistent throughout my rig. Alright, so I want to grab the upper cluster, and I'm going to shift select the upper handle, and I'm going to parent that, so edit, parent. Okay, I'm then going to do the same thing with the lower cluster. I'm going to select the lower cluster and then shift select the lower handle. Okay, the lower control, and I'm going to parent that, edit, parent, like that. So now basically what those handles will do is if I grab the handle, I can move that around, it's going to move the spine. Okay. Now what we need to do is we need to parent the control handles to one another. So I need this control handle to control this one. Then I need this one to control both of these. So I'm going to start off by selecting the top handle. I'm going to shift select the bend control here in the middle, and I'm going to parent that. So edit, parent. Then I'm going to select the bend control, and I'm going to parent that onto the body control down here. So I'm going to shift select that and press P or go to edit parent. Then I'm going to grab the lower spine control, and I'm going to parent that onto the body control as well. So shift select the body and press P. So what that should be doing, if we select the body control, if I move the body control around, okay, you can see there that it's moving the control handles. Okay, if I grab this one and I move this around, it's going to move the top one. Okay, if I grab the top one, or even this one here, if I grab this one and I rotate it like that, you can see that it makes the spine bend like that. And if I grab the top one, it'll do the same thing, but it'll kind of add like a bit of a kink to it, like that. So those things are okay. Now the thing that's not actually functioning here at the moment is the root joint here in the middle and the body joint are not actually moving along with the body control. So when I move this around, you can see that these joints here are not moving. So I'm going to have to connect the root joint here in the middle, okay, this one just here, with this controller. So the final connection is basically getting this root joint connected onto the body control. Now, you could connect it to the spine control here. And if we were doing like a humanoid character, that would probably be the case. But for this one, I'm going to do it a little bit differently and connect it onto the main body control. So we can give that a go. So I'm going to select the main body control just here. I'm going to shift select the root joint just there. And then I'm going to come up to constrain, parent constrain. I'm going to pop into the options there. I'm just going to make sure maintain offset is on and that all translates and rotates are also switched on. And then I'll hit add. Okay, so the result of that, if we select the control handle, if I grab the move tool, okay, I can move the body around and you can see that basically the head goes with it, or the upper section of the can goes with it. I can select the lower can control, and if I move that around, you can see that it will kind of adjust the bottom section of the spine, although it's not necessarily what we're going to want. We can also kind of do something like that. So it will kind of give us a little bit of an ability to kind of move this section of the can in a weird way. And the rest of these controls all sort of basically do this. Okay, so the final thing we want to do is set up a twist control for the spine so that when we twist this handle at the top, the joints in here will actually twist as well. The IK handle itself has a twist control in the same way that the legs and arms do, and you can see the effect there. If that gets dialed sort of back and forth, you get this nice twisting motion. What we want to do is basically control this value with the rotation of this handle. So what we need to do is open up Windows, General Editors, Connection Editor, just here. That's going to pop up this panel. And what we want to do is load in, you'll have to check this button here. You can see it's got from to, so it's output and input. If this is the other way around, where it's saying input, output, the result won't work the same. So you just have to be aware of which one is which. And you can always switch this around after you've loaded the object. Okay, so I've got it from to. The output is going to be the rotation value of this handle. So what I'm doing here is hitting reload left, and that's going to load the handle in there. Okay, so spine upper control. Okay, I want to control the twist on the IK handle here. So I need the spine IK and I need to reload that. Okay, and I can see the twist value there. If you've got a really long list of items here, you've got left and right display, that's for this side and this side. Turn off show non-keyable just here, and that will basically shorten the list down like this. So what I want to do is make sure I'm going from to, expand this down, rotate, select rotate Y, and connect it to twist by highlighting them like that. You just click on them. And then what you can do is hit close. Now you'll notice over here on the IK handle that's selected, the twist is now yellowed out. And that means that something is controlling that channel. And in this case, it's the rotation on this. So if I now select this handle and I grab the rotate tool and I rotate it like that, you can see that the spine twists. Okay. So that's pretty much the basic setup for the rig. All we need to do now is basically just connect everything else back together, and we might kind of manipulate or add in some additional controls for the feet, just for those different groupings we've got down there. So I'm going to start off by selecting both of the collarbones, and I'm going to shift select the body joint here in the middle, and I'm going to hit P to parent them together. Okay. I'm then going to select the shoulder controllers, like that, and I'm going to shift select the body control, and I'm going to parent those. So we'll go Edit, parent. So what that's going to do is when I move the body control, that's also going to move the shoulder control. So you can see now the shoulder joints are moving with them. If I turn off polygons, we can see that a little bit more clearly. Okay. The knee controls down here, I'm going to parent those onto the foot controls down here. So if I select the right knee and then shift select the right foot and press P, that's going to connect that. And then select the left knee and shift select the left foot and parent that by pressing P. So that way when I move the foot using the foot control, the knee control will go with it. Okay. All right. Now, you could perhaps try parenting the elbows to the shoulders. Okay, with some rigs that works okay. What I'm going to do is actually parent the elbows to the wrists. So I'm going to grab the elbow control, shift select the wrist control and press P, and then do the same thing on the other side. So that way it basically works the same as the foot controls. So if I grab the arm control and I move that around, you can see the elbow moves with it. And if I rotate the wrist, you can see that the elbow kind of angles as well. But I can still go in and just select the wrist by itself, or the elbow by itself, sorry, and I can move that around to readjust. Okay, so that's all going to work okay. All right, so pretty much everything else needs to be connected onto here. So basically the body control needs to be parented onto the master control. So I'll select them in that order and press P. And then the feet controls also get parented onto the master control. So I hit that, press P. So now if I select the master control, you'll see almost everything else selects like that. The only thing I need to do is parent the two wrist controls onto the master control as well. So select both wrist controls, shift select the master, and then press P. So now you should be able to get the entire rig to move around in one piece like that. But you can go in and you can, you know, move the feet separately and the knees separately and so on. You know, like if I grab this, I can rotate that around to get the top of the can to bend and do things like that. Okay. That's almost the entire rig done. I'm going to leave this video here because it's been quite long. In the last video, what I'm going to do is add in some controls onto the feet controls here. I'm going to add in some more channels, and I'm going to connect the IK handles groupings for things like the foot roll and the toe taps and stuff onto these handles. So I'll see you then.